Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 70 based on novel. So let's start. Lin Dong's body landed on a stone platform. Subsequently, he sat down and raised his head slightly. He was able to see the black waterfall falling from above. Black flames danced within the waterfall. It was a majestic sight, but there were no loud water splashing noises from it, causing it to also appear somewhat strange. Elder Mo Luo, please begin. Lin Dong deeply inhaled a breath of air. He looked at Mo Luo and spoke in a deep voice. Mo Luo and Qing Ji exchanged a look upon hearing this. Mo Luo nodded slightly as he extended his hands towards the black pool and suddenly clenched them. Bang! After Mo Luo clenched his hand, the unusually quiet death flame spirit pool finally trembled intensely. After which, one could see black flames rising from the black pool as they surged layer by layer. If one was to look carefully, one would vaguely see an extremely huge black formation rotating in the depths of the pool. Lin Dong, cry out if you are unable to endure any longer and I will rescue you. Do not force yourself. Each death chi cleansing is akin to a fully powered attack of an advanced profound death stage expert. Mu Luo looked at the churning black pool and shouted in a deep voice. Lin Dong's eyes were focused on the black pool as both of his hands slowly tightened. He grinned, relax Elder Mo Luo, I have even managed to endure the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol's 100,000 Thunderbolts. Even less needs to be said about this death flame spirit pool. You are really quite bold. Let us see just how long will last. Be careful, it is coming. Lin Dong's muscles tightened the moment he heard Mo Luo's cry. Soon after, he saw the pool water wrapped in black flames surge from the death flame spiritual pool and transform into an enormous black flame dragon. Roar! The black flame dragon roared at the sky as majestic pure death chi rippled. It was filled with a shockingly destructive force. The black flame dragon did not give Lin Dong any time to react. It bunched itself together before suddenly whizzing forward. A long black flame tail accompanied it as it rushed across the air with shocking speed. In the short span of a couple of breaths, its reflection rapidly magnified in Lin Dong's eyes. After which, it ruthlessly collided into Lin Dong's body. Bang! A deep collision sound echoed as Lin Dong's body trembled. His face instantly distorted as he clearly sensed surging pure death chi barbarically charge into his body, viciously washing through his muscles, veins, bones, organs. Lin Dong's skin actually began to gradually turn dull grey under this cleansing. The thick death chi caused him to appear like a zombie. Lin Dong could sense that the organs within his body were actually beginning to show signs of withering under the cleansing of this death chi. Death chi was an energy with extremely powerful destructive force. The slightest slip would very likely cause injuries in one's body. However, it was clearly impossible for Lin Dong to simply allow the situation to develop in such a manner. With a thought, the green heaven materialized dragon skill was quickly activated as bright green light dashed out from every corner of his body. Green light wrapped itself around the interior of Lin Dong's body. With the protection of the green heaven materialized dragon skill, Lin Dong's meridians, bones, organs etc. began to twist and squirm. Subsequently, they greedily absorbed the unusually pure death chi. Death chi was like a double-edged sword. If one controlled it well, it could also become an extremely powerful weapon. The Mo Luo trio carefully observed Lin Dong, who was being enveloped by thick death chi, from the edge of the death flame spirit pool. A moment later, they saw a little green light flickering. The green light grew increasingly green and even began to expand. It was just like a huge mouth that devoured all of the thick death chi. Again. Lin Dong abruptly opened his eyes. Green light surged within them. Bang! A black wave rose from within the death flame spirit pool once again as his cry sounded. Another wave that was stronger than the previous condensed into a black flame dragon and ferociously charged towards Lin Dong. Thick death chi wrapped around Lin Dong's body as green light churned. The two energies continued to erode each other in a seesaw manner. While this occurred, some of the pure death chi also began to completely seep into Lin Dong's body. This brat has become rather proficient in the green heaven materialized dragon skill. Mo Luo looked at the abnormally strong green light wrapped within the death chi and could not help but smile and remark. Qingji also smiled and nodded. His eyes contained a substantial amount of appreciation. Although he had passed on the green heaven materialized dragon skill to Lin Dong, the latter had been able to master it alone and the help Qingji had provided was limited. However, from the way I see it, even though he has become highly proficient in the green heaven materialized dragon skill, he should only be able to last until about the 40th cleansing. His limit is 47. Mo Luo fondled his chin and said. Qingji lifted his brow and grinned. Does that mean that he will lose out to Xin Lian by 2 cleansings? The death chi cleansing within the death flame spirit pool increases in strength with every wave. After the 40th wave, each power of each subsequent wave would be multiplied. Even Tang Xin Lian back then had only managed to endure 49 of them through some protective measures. After the 49th wave, however, she was knocked completely unconscious. Subsequently, she had to rest for 2 full months before gradually recovering. Mo Luo said. It is actually not bad for Lin Dong to be comparable to Tang Xin Lian. Qingji laughed. He suddenly asked, is 49 wave the limit of this death flame spirit pool? Mo Luo was stunned. He frowned and replied, the limit is 50, however, no one has managed to endure through it. Of course, this is on the precondition that the death flame spirit pool is effective with regards to the person who enters. Normally speaking, the death flame spirit pool was only effective for those who had just advanced to the profound death stage. Following the increase in one's strength, the effect that this place could provide would also diminish. Hence, those whose strength had passed this limit in the Flame Divine Hall were not allowed to enter the death flame spirit pool and waste the pure death chi inside. Perhaps you will be in for an eye-opener today. Qingji smiled slightly. Are you so confident in the green heaven materialized dragon skill? Mu Luo frowned and asked. It is not confidence in the green heaven materialized dragon skill. Instead, I have confidence in Lin Dong. Hopefully. I also wish to see if this little fellow can break Xin Lian's record. Let's wait and see. Tang Xin Lian by the side gently pursed her red lips while listening to the conversation between those two. Her bright eyes looked at the skinny figure seated on the stone platform receiving waves of death chi cleansing as curiosity and anticipation emerged from the depths of her eyes. She also wished to see if this seemingly ordinary young man, who had managed to create many miracles, would once again shock everyone. Rumble. With the flow of time, the death flame spirit pool also ceased being as quiet as before. The pool churned and as numerous black flame dragons condensed and took shape one by one. After which, they were accompanied by an increasingly frightening death chi as they ferociously charged at the figure seated on the stone platform. However, the figure wrapped within the green light gradually became akin to a sturdy rock amidst the crazy assault of the death chi. The green light might appear thin and weak, but it did not collapse. 40th, now the truly strong waves will come. Mo Luo remarked in a faint voice. Mo Luo's voice had only just sounded when the death flame spirit pool suddenly churned wildly. A black flame dragon which was many times larger than before slowly rose. Dark red gathered in the eyes of the black dragon and they appeared like a pair of blood eyes that caused one to shudder. It is indeed a lot stronger. Astonishment flashed across Qingji's eyes as he gently nodded. Roar? The enormous black flame dragon roared at the sky. In the next moment, it was accompanied by surging death chi as it rushed forth. Finally, it mercilessly slammed into Lin Dong's body. Lin Dong's face distorted at the moment of impact. The skin on the surface of his body also swiftly revealed a withery grey look. Soon, however, a low and deep roar was emitted from his throat. Green light came gushing out and firmly protected his body. 2 waves of light interweaved in a ferocious fashion. However, neither was able to obtain the upper hand. Bang! Lin Dong's eyes suddenly became serious. He grabbed with his hand and firmly held onto the black flame dragon's head. Subsequently, green light erupted and the black flame dragon exploded. Thick death chi flowed along his hand and rapidly gushed into his body. Again. Lin Dong's hand trembled. However, his eyes grew increasingly excited and stubborn. Roar? It was as though the black flame spirit pool was responding towards his cry as it continued to churn. Even wilder and fiercer black flame dragons were formed which crazily charged at Lindong in succession. Bang! 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 A low and deep noise reverberated across the empty surface of the pool. Mo Luo's eyes gradually became grave as he watched Lindong, who continued to tremble under the assault of the many black flame dragons without falling. 47th. Tang Xinlian's soft voice seemed to tremble a little. Having experienced this before, she was naturally aware of just what kind of painful torture one had to experience within it. Back then, experiencing the 47th wave was her limit. If it was not because of her prior preparations, she would have already collapsed at this stage. Crash! The entire pool seemed to completely rebel at this moment. Two enormous black whirlpools were formed at the same time. After which, they shot out like two black dragons ripping apart the sky. They possessed extremely majestic to the limit death chi as they ruthlessly slammed into Lindong's body in an earth-shaking manner. Surging black death chi swept out like a wave from the point of collision. Such power could threaten even the life of an advanced profound death stage expert. The Mo Luo trio's gazes were glued to the spot where the death chi was the thickest. A moment later, the death chi gradually weakened and a violently coughing figure appeared in their sights. Lindong's body was currently greyish-white. Black viscous liquid adhered to the surface of his skin. It was made from extremely pure death chi. Lindong violently coughed. The blood that was spat out from his mouth gave off a black luster. Clearly, his injuries were rather serious. This brat is indeed formidable. Mo Luo exhaled. Although Lindong's current condition appeared somewhat miserable, he had still unbelievably endured 49th death chi cleansing. Let's end it here. Mo Luo waved his sleeve and was about to shut the death flame spirit pool. However, the young figure on the stone platform extended his arm with some difficulty as Mo Luo's voice sounded. After which, a hoarse voice was emitted as the expression in Tang Xinlian's eyes slightly altered. There is still one more. There is still one more. Mo Luo and Tang Xinlian's expressions gently changed when they heard that hoarse voice being transmitted from the stone platform. Only Qingji smiled faintly, looking as though he was not surprised by this result. Lindong, there has not been a single person who has managed to endure 50 death chi cleansing from this death flame spirit pool. The strength of the final one far surpasses that of any previous ones. Should you fail, your body will also be eroded by the death chi regardless of how sturdy it is. Mo Luo warned in a deep voice. Lindong extended his hand from the stone platform. At this moment, his skin had already been eroded by death chi and it had turned a little greyish. It seemed like he was enduring a great deal of pain. However, he did not say anything. Instead, all he did was to wave his hand slightly, revealing his stubborn nature that refuses to give up. There was no strength in this world that comes for free. In order to become stronger than others, one must put in effort and take risks beyond what others will. This was something that Lindong was clearly aware of when he walked out of the Great Yang Empire. Mo Luo's eyes narrowed upon seeing this. This little fellow was truly stubborn. Mo Luo, allow him to do as he please. You will not be able to stop him once he has made up his mind. Qingji laughed at the side. Mo Luo smiled bitterly and shook his head. He said, "It is easy for you to say so. Do you think that it is going to be easy to refine a new physical body for this little fellow should his body end up being destroyed?" Qingji smiled as he looked at the gently trembling body on the stone platform. He softly said, "He will succeed. I hope so." Viscous death chi dripped down from the stone platform and fell into the pool. However, the sound of water dripping did not emerge. In fact, not even the slightest ripple spread on the surface of the pool. The death flame spirit pool gradually regained its silence after the 49th death chi cleansing appeared, and it looked as though it would not carry on. Master, uncertainty flashed across Tang Xinlian's eyes when she saw this scene. This was because no one had ever endured the 50th wave before. Hence, even she did not know how the 50th death chi cleansing would look like. "It is coming soon, Mo Luo lifted his head. His eyes were focused at the black waterfall above the death flame spirit pool. Meanwhile, a grave expression rose within his eyes. A short while after Mo Luo uttered those words, the land itself suddenly began to tremble. Immediately, Tang Xinlian lifted her head in shock. After which, her eyes shrunk when she saw the enormous black waterfall beginning to slowly wiggle at this moment. The black waterfall looked just like a huge black dragon that seemed to stretch on endlessly. Meanwhile, amidst the silence, it stealthily exposed its own ferociousness. A terrifyingly indescribable death chi spread, causing the space itself to seem dim and damaged. It seems like even the space itself was unable to endure that death chi. On the stone platform, Lin Dong had also detected the frightening ripple above him. Promptly, he slowly lifted his head. There was a black waterfall reflected in his pupils. That shadow was just like that of a descending death god, causing him to inhale a deep breath of air. The final death chi strike was truly abnormally powerful. It's no wonder even Mo Luo opposed his decision to receive it. However, it was already impossible for him to withdraw at this point in time. Come. Lin Dong sat down. His eyes were filled with a searing hot intent as he stared at the black waterfall. The black waterfall slowly became distorted as streams of black water came pouring down. After which, they quietly merged into the pool. Regardless of how majestic the atmosphere was, there was still not the slightest sound being emitted. The silence was so mysterious that it turned one's heart cold. Crack! A sound was suddenly emitted out of nowhere, and even the air in this place quickly absconded. The black waterfall carried a terrifying momentum as it came pouring down from the sky. Just like a black mountain, it slammed towards Lin Dong's head. Bang! The waterfall fell and the huge stone platform was destroyed almost immediately. Although no loud noise was emitted, the violently shaking ground stood testimony to the terrifying force contained. The black waterfall enveloped Lin Dong's entire body. Immediately, a bitter low roar of pain was emitted. Standing near the edge of the black flame spirit pool, the Mo Luo trios wore grave expressions as they stared at the black waterfall. With their outstanding eyesight, they could vaguely see that Lin Dong's body was gradually turning dark within the waterfall. This was a sign that his body was dying. He can't hold on anymore. Tang Xinlian hurriedly cried out. No one had imagined that this final attack would be so fearsome. Compared to this, the previous 49 waves were truly insignificant. Teacher, save him. Mo Luo's expression was grave. He glanced at a calm-looking Qingxi, standing beside him, and shook his head. He softly said, "Don't worry. That kid can still take it." As several powerful and pressurizing waves continued to press down on him, low and deep roars of great pain were emitted from the waterfall like that of a wild beast. In fact, it was impossible to imagine how great the pain was, since even the usually tough Lin Dong ended up acting in this manner. Tang Xinlian covered her red lips with her hand. She could see Lin Dong's body cuddling into a ball within the black waterfall. That extremely powerful death chi seemed to possess terrifying erosion properties as it continuously corroded his body. Layers of black skin quickly accumulated on the surface of Lin Dong's body. It caused one's heart to shudder just by observing this scene. This painful roar continued for a long while before it gradually weakened. However, it did not stop because the pain had eased. Instead, it was because the death chi had corroded his throat. His voice was just like that of a broken windmill, and it was no longer as clear as before. When Tang Xinlian saw this scene, even with her tough character, her eyes still ended up turning slightly red. She quickly turned her head away and stopped looking at the figure in pain, struggling within the black waterfall. She finally knew why her teacher and Qingxi, who were top experts in this world, held this young man of similar age in such high regard. It was not because of this young man's talent. Instead, it was because of his tenacious character that refuses to give up. Even she did not have such tenacity. At the very least, she did not have the courage to challenge the 50th death chi cleansing back then. Lin Dong, do your best. Tang Xinlian clenched her hand gently. She turned her head and muttered. The hoarse painful roar finally disappeared. However, those waves of terrifying death chi continued to flood towards the completely still figure within. Due to the isolation from the death chi, it was impossible to determine whether there were any signs of life remaining. This cleansing continued for 10 minutes before the raging black waterfall finally flowed backwards. It hung high in the sky before it finally scattered like ink. The Mo Luo trio stared at this black waterfall as it slowly scattered. Subsequently, their eyes focused on the surface of the death flame spirit pool. At that spot, black flames rose while a pile of charred black skin piled high like a hill. Mo Luo waved his hand and a breeze blew over. Those black skin scattered, revealing a completely charred, skinny stick-like figure. Tang Xinlian involuntarily bit her red lips when she saw this skeleton-like charred body. She tried her best to prevent herself from making any noise. That was because she was unable to detect any signs of life from that body. Mo Luo's expression was grave when he saw this scene. He quickly turned his head to look at Qingxi. Although the latter still remained calm, he was able to detect that Qingxi's body seemed tenser than usual. None of them said a word. The atmosphere was so pressurizing that one could hardly breathe. Crack. This atmosphere continued for around a minute before a slightly strange sound was emitted. The eyes of the Mo Luo trio hurriedly shifted. Finally, they saw that many cracks were actually appearing on that charred skeleton-like figure. All their eyes became focused as they stared at this scene. As those black objects were completely made of death chi, even Qingxi was unable to detect if there was any life force remaining within. The crack line swiftly grew while the three of them stared intently at that black body. Finally, a soft sound appeared. A crack line extended before a long arm was extended from within. The black substance swiftly fell off at this moment. Following which, a healthy natural color that was filled with life once again appeared. A rather toned young body once again appeared after the black substances completely fell off. His black eyes were bright and confident. Each and every part of his body was filled with strength. This was a body which was reborn from within the deathly flame. Although it did not possess shocking muscles like that of a giant, this seemingly skinny body emitted a frightening strength. He has actually succeeded. The Mo Luo trio looked at the body, which seemed to have undergone a metamorphosis. They had sharp senses and they were naturally able to detect that his body was clearly much stronger than before. Moreover, there was a majestic surging yuan power flowing within this body and traces of pure death chi were mixed within his yuan power. His cultivation level was also as stable as a rock. Clearly, Lin Dong had truly succeeded in enduring the 50 death chi cleansing. This little fellow. Mo Luo parted his mouth. His eyes were filled with admiration. Lin Dong had once again managed to stun him. The smile on Qingxi's face grew. However, only Mo Luo could sense the latter's tensed-up body slowly relaxing. Lin Dong looked at the trio at the edge of the pool and smiled. He was just about to walk over when a fiery red long spear ruthlessly shot over. The sharp wind frightened him and caused him to hurriedly take a few steps back. After which, he looked at Tang Xinlian in a startled manner. The latter's pretty face was boiling hot. Her bright eyes, which were roaming over his body, were filled with embarrassment. "Put on your clothes." Tang Xinlian's embarrassed cry caused Mo Luo to involuntarily laugh. Qingxi also smiled while he shook his head. Lin Dong put on his clothes in an awkward fashion. He rushed towards the edge of the pool in front of the teasing eyes of the Qingxi duo. At the moment, Tang Xinlian's pretty face was slightly red as she looked at Lin Dong. Her eyes gently glared at him. There was no change in Lin Dong's appearance. However, his skin had a faint white color undulated on it. Meanwhile, perhaps it was because he owned the devouring ancestral symbol, his black eyes seemed even darker and deeper. Even Tang Xinlian's heart became a little absent-minded after she exchanged glances with Lin Dong. After which, she hurriedly shifted her eyes away, while her heart began to beat more rapidly. Tang Xinlian involuntarily became a little embarrassed after detecting her change in demeanor. Over the years, she had met countless handsome men who could easily attract the affection of many women simply by relying on their appearance. However, she was no ordinary woman and she would not be attracted to a man merely because of his appearance. This was something that could be seen using Zhu Zi as an example. Not only was the latter extremely handsome, but he also had extraordinary talents. However, up against Tang Xinlian, who guarded herself like a fortress, he could only admit defeat and give up after trying for several years. To begin with, Tang Xinlian had a steely character. This lady was undoubtedly extremely proud in her heart. Hence, she involuntarily felt as embarrassed as a little girl after realizing the emotion in her heart after she exchanged glances with Lin Dong. The next time this happens, my spear will not hold back. To hide the feelings in her heart, Tang Xinlian's pretty face tensed up. Promptly, she clenched her hand before her fire phoenix spear turned into a ray of light and returned to her hand. After which, she spoke in a cold and indifferent manner. Lin Dong could only laugh dryly. He did not wish for a similar situation to occur again. However, congratulations, no one has ever received 50 death chi cleansing in the death flame spirit pool before. Tang Xinlian's heart unknowingly softened when she saw Lin Dong's embarrassed manner. Her bright eyes contained a glint as she looked at the former. It turns out her eyes were actually filled with admiration. Lin Dong involuntarily became a little absent-minded after detecting the slight emotion within Tang Xinlian's eyes. Only after witnessing this lady's determined nature, did he understand just how difficult it was for her to reveal such an emotion. I was almost unable to hold on. However, Lin Dong quickly recovered after feeling a little pleased with himself for a moment. He turned his head to look at the huge black waterfall, while his eyes were filled with fear. Previously, he had indeed detected the scent of death. In fact, it was similar to the sensation he felt when he fought with General Lang Mo. Even now, he was not confident that he would be able to endure and survive through this deadly assault for a second time. This death flame spirit pool is indeed frightening. It's no wonder that no one else besides a stubborn lunatic like him actually dared to challenge the last death chi assault. Cough, I'll say. You two young fellows, do really think that no one else is around? A teasing voice was transmitted from the side just as Lin Dong was about to speak with Tang Xinlian. After which, the both of them turned their heads and saw Mo Luo and Qing Shi staring playfully at them. Lin Dong coughed dryly while Tang Xinlian's pretty face turned red. She immediately turned and faced Mo Luo. However, she did not avoid the latter's eyes like she did with Lin Dong previously. Instead, she glared at him and softly snorted, "If you dare to mock me again, I will go into a training retreat once I return. Then, you can manage the Flame Divine Hall by yourself." Tang Xinlian's words were clearly quite a deadly weapon. The playful smile on Mo Luo's face disappeared almost instantly. After which, he looked at Lin Dong seriously. "All your sequelae should have been removed, am I right? The Flame Divine Hall is extremely large and there are many complicated matters to deal with. In the past, Mo Luo personally managed them. However, as Tang Xinlian gradually took over, he finally understood the meaning of freedom. Therefore, if he had to take over those tasks again, it was likely that he would not even have the time to train. Furthermore, with regards to these matters, even though he was Tang Xinlian's master, he had no choice but to admit that the latter was better at handling them. Lin Dong quietly laughed in his heart because of the change in Mo Luo's expression. He nodded and clenched his hand gently. A smile surfaced on the corner of his mouth as he sensed the surging ocean-like yuan power in his body. The superficial feeling in his body had finally disappeared completely. Currently, his cultivation level had completely stabilized at the initial profound death stage. Traces of death chi floated within the yuan power flowing within his body. They looked just like hidden black dragons that would reveal their true frightening appearance whenever they appeared. If he had such strength when he was fighting with He Chen and Xu Xiu, perhaps he would not have wound up in such a miserable state. Although Lin Dong was currently at the initial profound death stage, he would be hard-pressed to find an opponent at the advanced profound death stage. In fact, it was even possible for him to face a perfect profound death stage expert. He was much stronger compared to when he first arrived at the chaotic demon sea. Perfect profound death stage. Regardless of which faction, one would definitely be equivalent to an elder. Even the clan heads of Jiyu clan, Wei clan, and other powerful factions were merely at this cultivation level. With such strength, it was even possible for him to roam the demon region. It is good that it is resolved. Qingji smiled while his eyes contained a tinge of admiration. It was likely that he was extremely pleased with Lin Dong's performance in the Death Flame Spirit Pool. Since this problem has been resolved, when do you plan to head to the demon region? Mo Luo asked. The sooner the better. Lin Dong pondered for a moment before he said. Qingji mentioned previously that he detected that Little Flame and Little Martin were teleported to different parts of the demon region. However, Little Martin was seriously wounded when he was transported. This was because Little Martin ignited his clan symbol in order to fight the three great heads of the Yuan Gate back in the unique Devil City. Hence, he would definitely be in a hurry to undertake a retreat and recuperate after he returned to his celestial demon Martin tribe, and no one knew what his current condition was like. Moreover, if Little Martin took a training retreat, he would be unable to search for Little Flame. At this moment, the latter should be roaming the demon region by himself. This caused Lin Dong to feel a little worried. He wanted to find Little Flame as soon as possible. After ensuring that the latter was safe, he would head over to the celestial demon Martin tribe and reunite with Little Martin. Then, we will do it 3 days later. Mo Luo waved his large hand and said, moreover, my Flame Divine Hall also has some demonic beast disciples. I will send one who is familiar with the demon region to accompany you. That should be of great help to you when searching for someone there. Lin Dong rejoiced upon hearing this. He was truly unfamiliar with the demon region. With someone helping him, it would naturally save him a great deal of trouble. Let's do it like this. Mo Luo and I will help teleport and deliver you to the demon region in 3 days' time. Lin Dong nodded solemnly. His eyes looked at the endless sky outside before waves gently stirred in his heart. Little Martin, Little Flame, wait for me. My brothers, we promised to charge back to the Eastern Xian region together. 3 days later, Lin Dong was seated on a rock at the tallest peak in the fiery flame city. He lifted his head to look at the top of the mountain. There was a faint and terrifying spatial fluctuation being emitted from that spot. It was the spatial teleportation array that Qingji and Mo Luo had built together. Big brother Lin Dong. A somewhat lovely voice was suddenly emitted from behind Lin Dong. The latter turned his head and saw Mu Lingshan, whom he had not met for the past few days, running towards him in an excited manner. Mu Lan was following closely behind her. Are you going to the demon region? Can I go too? Mu Lingshan grabbed Lin Dong's arm. Her large eyes were filled with anticipation. Forget about it. I can still allow you to act willfully in the chaotic demon sea. However, you are definitely not allowed to go to the demon region. Mu Lan snapped from behind her. Lin Dong smiled and rubbed Mu Lingshan's small head. He said, Lingshan, be obedient. The demon region is extremely dangerous, and even I can only protect myself when I am there. You should follow Elder Mu Lan and train properly. In the future, once you become stronger, you can come and protect me. After learning of Mu Lingshan's mysterious status, Lin Dong knew that Mu Lan would definitely not allow Lingshan to roam the demon region. The dangers involved were far too great if her identity was exposed. Mu Lingshan's small face wore a bitter expression. From Mu Lan and Lin Dong's attitude, she knew that there was little hope. Big brother Lin Dong, you can be rest assured that I will be much stronger the next time we meet. I will protect you in the future. Mu Lingshan laughingly said. Her large eyes contained some fondness. Mu Lan stepped forward. He looked at Lin Dong and laughed. The demon region might be dangerous, but I don't think there is a need for me to warn you. Since you are able to create a name for yourself in the chaotic demon sea, it is likely that you will be an extraordinary existence even in the demon region. I am really curious what miracles you will create in the demon region. Lin Dong felt neither able to laugh nor cry. Why was he being described as a demon lord that brought chaos to the world? He was just about to reply when he shifted his eyes away. Rushing wind sound appeared. Tang Xinlian was hurrying over with someone behind her. Lin Dong, this is a disciple of my Flame Hall. She is from the demon region. Lin Dong looked beside Tang Xinlian and saw a delicate little figure. It seems like she was a young lady. Her lovely body was slender and her face was beautiful. However, it seems like she was a little timid. Her large eyes quickly darted away after glancing at Lin Dong. Sir Lin Dong, I am Xin Qing. I am someone from the Nine-Tailed tribe in the demonic beast world. Lord Qingji has said that it is likely that your friend has appeared in the region belonging to my tribe. Hence, he has asked me to accompany you to search for him. The young lady crossed her hands together as she lowered her head and spoke in a barely audible voice. Nine-Tailed tribe. Lin Dong was slightly startled. He could not help but look behind the young lady. The young lady's small face reddened slightly after having seemingly sensed Lin Dong's gaze, and she quickly hid behind Tang Xinlian. The latter grabbed her and glanced at Lin Dong. Lin Dong coughed softly. He nodded towards the young lady in a friendly manner and said, Miss Xinqing, I will be troubling you this time around. Xinqing is someone from our Flame Divine Hall Divine Guards. Although she is young, she is already at the initial profound life stage. She is your guide this time around. Do not act inappropriately. Or else. Tang Xinlian gently clenched her hand. Her narrow bright eyes contained a little murderous aura. Do I look like such a person? Lin Dong laughed bitterly. Tang Xinlian thought for a moment before smiling. Her smile was a little enchanting. Soon after, she glanced at Lin Dong. Her voice was much gentler as she said, Be careful. Yes. Lin Dong nodded. Suddenly, he turned his head and looked at the mountain. There was an extremely vast and mighty spiritual fluctuation sweeping from it. A light pillar shot towards the sky. Lin Dong stared at the light pillar. It was a long time later before he inhaled a deep breath of air. He leaped down the rock and waved his hand without speaking. Next, he walked towards the top of the mountain in a suave manner. Let's go. A huge glowing array hovered above the mountain. In the space above the light array, the space was distorted and it seemed like a dark black spatial tunnel was vaguely being formed. Standing below the light array, Qing Shi and Mo Luo slowly stopped. The chaotic demon sea and the demon region were extremely far apart. Even a profound death stage expert would have to fly for at least half a year in order to travel from one place to the other. Hence, a spatial teleportation array that covered such a great distance was obviously not something that any ordinary faction could create. However, it was obvious that Mo Luo and Qing Shi were not in the ordinary category. After all, one of them was a genuine reincarnation stage expert, while the other was the owner of an ancestral symbol. They were peak existences in the entire world, and it was not impossible for them to build a spatial teleportation array, to teleport one across such a great distance if they combined their powers. Lin Dong, the array has been completed. It is time to go. Mo Luo turned his head and looked at Lin Dong, who was walking to the top of the mountain. Lin Dong nodded. Standing behind him, the young lady called Xinqing also started running as she tried to keep up with him. Her big eyes looked at the Mo Luo duo, before she felt a little fear and respect. Given her status in the Flame Divine Hall, she was typically unable to meet Mo Luo, the person with the highest authority in the Flame Divine Hall. Xinlian should have introduced this little girl to you, am I right? She is a member of the Nine-Tailed tribe. Moreover, Qingji mentioned that the area where her tribe is located is incidentally where your friend, Little Flame, has been transported to. Their tribe and I have a relationship, and you should be able to obtain their help if you tell them about this matter. Mo Luo glanced at Xinqing before he said, Yes. Thank you, Elder Mo Luo. Lin Dong nodded his head and said, In that case, the both of you should enter the array. Let's go. Lin Dong tilted his head and spoke to the young lady behind him. After which, he took the lead and entered the huge light array. The latter hesitated for a moment before she followed behind. Qingji looked at the two individuals who had entered the light array. He mused for a moment before flicking his finger. A ray of green light shot towards Lin Dong. After which, the latter quickly stretched his arm and grabbed it. Lowering his head to take a look, it was actually a palm-sized green bone. If you have the opportunity to go to the dragon tribe during your trip to the demon region, you can use this token to do so. If you want complete mastery over the green heaven materialized dragon skill, there is one final step that you must complete. What? Lindong was startled. Dragon transforming bone. Qingji spoke in a faint voice. There is an ancient dragon transforming lake in the dragon tribe. You will be able to complete the final step and achieve complete mastery of the green heaven materialized dragon skill if you were to enter and train. It is no easy feat to enter the ancient dragon transforming lake. Would those old and stubborn fellows allow Lindong to enjoy such a great blessing? The reason you were able to go was because you possessed the bloodline of a dragon. Lindong might have learnt the green heaven materialized dragon skill, but he is still human. Mo Luo reminded. It will depend on his affinity. Qingji said. Lindong nodded slightly. After which, he kept the green bone in his hand and cupped his hand formally towards Qingji, Mo Luo, Mulan, Tang Xinlian, and the rest. Hey, you must come back to the chaotic demon sea. Tang Xinlian looked at the young man standing in the light array before she involuntarily cried out. Lindong nodded solemnly. He would definitely return to this place. However, when he returns, it will be in a completely different fashion. The teleportation is about to begin. Be careful. Mo Luo and Qingji exchanged glances with each other. The seals formed by their hands changed and the space itself began to distort violently. The spatial swirl above was just like a huge mouth that extended downwards. At the same time, the light around the Lindong duo also became denser. Big brother Lindong, if anyone bullies you in the demon region, you can come back to the chaotic demon sea. I will stand up for you. Mu Lingshan waved her small hand. Her large eyes also turned red because she was reluctant to see Lindong leave. However, the words that she cried out caused Lindong to chuckle involuntarily. Subsequently, he felt warmth in his heart. Lingshan, do your best and train well. I will need your help in the future. Lindong smiled. Mu Lingshan was the life-death ancestral symbol. Her strength would likely be quite terrifying in the future. Hence, one can easily imagine that if they were to fight with the Yimo in the future, Mu Lingshan would become a critical member that no one can underestimate. Yes? Mu Lingshan nodded vigorously. After which, her eyes became increasingly red as she stared at the increasingly bright light on Lindong's body. Everyone, let's meet again. The intensity of the light finally reached its limits after Lindong's voice was emitted. The distorted space whizzed and devoured the Lindong duo. After which, wild and violent spatial ripples swept across the place. The bright light lasted for a long time before it gradually disappeared. That light array gradually weakened and the two figures within completely disappeared. Only the space that was slowly being repaired proved that the previous incident had indeed occurred. They are finally gone. Mo Luo looked at the space that was being repaired before he released a long sigh. He involuntarily smiled and said, I wonder just what incidents this little fellow will create once he reaches the demon region. Qingji grinned. With both his hands behind his back, he lifted his head and muttered, I have a premonition that this little fellow will be extremely powerful the next time we meet. I am looking forward to it. Mo Luo nodded. He was also extremely curious to find out what level this fellow, whom Qingji thought was comparable to the most outstanding disciple of the symbol ancestor, could reach. He truly looked forward to that day. While Lindong once again traveled through space and left the chaotic demon sea for the distant demon region, there were also some extraordinary events happening in the distant Eastern Xian region. Eastern Xian region, Yuan Gate. As the most powerful super sect in the Eastern Xian region, this place was noisy and lively all year round. Countless disciples shuttled through the place and there was a prideful look on their faces. It was a haughtiness that came from being a member of the strongest sect in this region. However, there were occasionally some disciples who lifted their heads to look at the dark clouds which covered the sky. Subsequently, their hearts felt a little pressured. It seems like in recent times, the atmosphere in the sect felt a little amiss. There was a lone mountain deep within the Yuan Gate. A somewhat dilapidated hole was located on the top of the mountain. Spider web covered the place and there were some black insects occasionally crawling over the place. A faint dark and cold aura radiated from it. This place was the forbidden grounds of the Yuan Gate. Even some elders were prohibited from entering. 3 figures were quietly seated deep within this hall at the moment. Upon closer inspection, they were actually the 3 great chiefs of the Yuan Gate. However, the 3 individuals with the highest authority in the Yuan Gate had somewhat sinister and dark expression in their eyes currently. Hua Chen is dead. A long silence followed. Finally, Ren Yuanzi opened his mouth and spoke in a hoarse voice. At the same time, the one called Xu Xiu is also dead. Both of them died in Lin Dong's hands. He is truly a brat that is making life difficult for us. A dark expression flashed across Di Yuanzi's eyes as he slowly said, currently, he has gotten involved with the Flame Divine Hall in the Chaotic Demon Sea. That chief of the Flame Divine Hall should be called Mo Luo, and he is also the owner of the blazing ancestral symbol. Lin Dong, Mo Luo, and that green dragon king, Qing Shi, set a trap together. Chen Yuanzi leaned on the backrest of his chair. A dark shadow scattered, covering half of his face. It made him look a little strange. Ha ha, King Qianming led 3 great generals to that place. In the end, the 3 great generals were killed and he himself almost ended up with the same fate. In fact, only some of his essence blood were rescued. The corner of Chen Yuanzi's mouth twitched. He suddenly became sinister. That brat, he is truly not a simple person. Di Yuanzi and Ren Yuanzi were silent. Who could have imagined that the ant, whom they could have killed with a single finger back then, would actually cause them to suffer such terrifying losses? The existence of the demon prison should have been revealed, Chen Yuanzi remarked in a faint voice. A black glint flashed across the eyes of the Di Yuanzi duo. They softly asked, will this lead to any major disruptions? Their existence will be revealed sooner or later. Nevertheless, with this being the case, we should bring our plan forward. Chen Yuanzi opened his dark eyes. There was an endless brutalness surging from them. We must conquer the entire Eastern Xian region. There can only be one overlord in this region. The Di Yuanzi duo exchanged glances. After which, they looked at a dark shadow in the corner of the hall. There seemed to be black qi flowing at that spot. A moment later, a dark chilly soft voice suddenly spread across the hall. We may begin. What about the Flame Divine Hall? Chen Yuanzi looked at the top of the dilapidated large hall and asked. The demon prison handled them. All you need to do is to take care of the Eastern Xian region. The demon prison will assist you from the shadows, a dark and cold voice quietly spread. Chen Yuanzi nodded. He slowly stood up and looked outside of the large hall with eyes that were filled with a black glow. The smile on the corner of his mouth gradually turned heated. In that case, let the war begin. I want that brat to see a ruined Dao sect when he returns. While a dark cloud was quietly enveloping the Eastern Xian region, there was an icy snowy place, a great distance towards the north of the Eastern Xian region. The frighteningly chilly air seemed to freeze even the natural Yuan power. There was an hundreds of thousand feet large ice mountain at a certain part of this icy and snowy world. The ice mountain seemed to pierce through the sky and one could not see the end of the towering and spectacular peak. There was a faint icy blue light being emitted from the deepest part of the ice mountain. Each flash appeared as though it was breathing. The many icy blue light vaguely seemed to form an extremely ancient ancestral symbol. However, this glow merely flickered for a short moment before disappearing. Finally, it became completely dim and sealed by ice. At the same time, a delicate young lady with long scattered icy blue hair was seated on an ice lotus floating on an icy lake deep within a super sect known as the Dao sect back at the distant Eastern Xian region mountains. Every strand of her hair appeared like crystal and seemed ethereal. Looking from a distance away, she was soul-stirringly beautiful. The icy fairy-like young lady seated within the ice lotus suddenly opened her icy blue eyes. She lifted her head to look into the distance before she furrowed her pretty eyebrows. There seemed to be something beckoning her through the space from that direction. Ice. Ice ancestral symbol her. This video will end here.